to analyze this game we had from the Kanbei Cup.
Thank you very much for coming here. Uh, I'm looking forward to see what's up with this. What do you think about this map?
It's a pretty classical. I mean, I don't want to say classical wage map, but it's like a pretty good map. I think it's not like Stalingrad or Verdun, where it's just like there's zero mountains basically, and like there's almost no forests, and like it's kind of like a boring pattern. This map, it's still kind of like open. You can still do front switch, but there's like a lot more interesting terrain to play around. The HQs are slightly more vulnerable, so I quite like this map. I think it's an interesting departure from like the usual fog formula.
That's good to know your insights. So, why did you pick Andy? Because many people picked him, and I want to see your reason.
Basically it's because there's no artillery. The fact that you banned artillery in this setting means like Andy is like the only pick, because like Andy really likes heavy tanks. The easy counter to heavy tanks is like you get artillery. But if the artillery are banned, then there's simply no cheap counter to heavy tanks. Like you have to get your own heavy tank. But in order to like kill an Andy heavy tank, you need like two of them, right? Or like a heavy tank and two copters. Basically, like you need to waste a lot of attacks. So it's just not very easy to kill Andy's stuff if you ban artillery. So this is why like he becomes quite the easy pick in this kind of game.
That's very interesting. I like that insight. So, if I knew that, trust me, I would ban the crap out of Andy before making this round. Because you see, the only player in this round, in this match, that did not pick Andy was a mistake. He basically didn't read the rule and he had seen grit and he just picked grit.
Yeah, I was actually like I almost fell for that because like I didn't realize like artillery was banned immediately. I only realized while I was making the map settings. Oh, artillery is banned because otherwise like I would have also gone grit. Like grit on this map is pretty insane. Like even in like tier 1, like he's pretty scary if you're not aware. So
Because there's a lot of forest, that's the thing. There's a lot of forest and grit likes forest.
yeah, it's the forest, but also like the mountain ranges, right? Like if you look at the mountain ranges, like kind of like near the base and like basically like past the tower area. Like if you put a rocket in that area, like it's almost unkillable. You need to get air in there somehow, which okay, you're fighting grit, you will build air, but it's not trivial to get like a copter that far forward, and then you also need to like get vision, and if it's a forest, it's even worse. So grit can like lock down a lot of things here with just like artillery or a rocket. Also like the corner areas, like the top left and bottom right. These are also like frequent spots where artillery sees a lot of play in like a normal game. So indirects are quite good here. Like I wouldn't say it's dominant, but grit has a lot of scary ideas on this map.
So, very interesting. So, let's do that replay. I think you got remote control, right?
Um, I don't think I do.
You don't think you do? I see you have. Try moving the mouse.
I'm moving the mouse. Okay, now it's working. Okay. So first few turns, no one's building any mechs day 1, so that's pretty good. Both of us are rushing the neutral base immediately, which is all like pretty standard. There is like one idea here you could potentially do, where instead of going for this city, you go for like a really fast airport capture. The idea with like the fast airport capture is like you'll get a fast T-copter and like accelerate infantry into this area. If you're not gonna do that, then the usual play is to like get an APC and accelerate into this area. The reason why like APC or T-copter is really good here, APC is like slightly better, is because recons, like if you notice, like first of all this space is super delayed, right?
Yeah.
So it's unlikely that you're gonna build a recon here as your first vehicle, like as your first build, when you have all these captures to do. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
If you build a recon from here, it can get to this area really fast. But going through the middle, right? Like there's so many like plains and like some forests occasionally that it's not easy for like a recon here to interrupt any captures in this area. Like it's probably gonna get hit by a tank if it tries. Even like if you do an APC into tank opening, like our recon can't really harass this area. And the APC can essentially mean that you secure these two cities, you will accelerate this capture by a turn. So like even in like the worst possible scenario with like APC into tank, you will get 3 cities, which is like what like the APC needs to pay for itself. Accelerating this city and this city also means like you have a lot more ability to contest this city and this city. So like you will get about like either 3 cities minimum, maybe 5 or 6 cities with the APC opening. Which is why, like in high level play, like APC is like very very popular in this map because it essentially has no counter, unless like you're fighting a Sturm. Then maybe you don't want to go APC because like I've seen some Sturms just do some crazy stuff. Like they'll open 4 recons, and because they have like the perfect movement, they just ignore this idea. So like they can actually like hit this area super fast before your tanks are around. So
Star breaks the game in Fog, I think. Because having the great APC he has, or I should say the great recon he can have, it really creates issues there.
Yeah, there are a lot of maps where it's an issue. I think this is definitely like one of those maps. So notice here like we move this infantry forward to load into the APC rather than going for like the back capture or the airport. This is like a fairly standard APC opening. We also move this infantry forward. It's gonna make sense like after you see like the next few moves. Just build more infantry. My opponent is going for like a fairly safe opening. He goes tank first. I don't really think like this is better than APC first, but he might be like scared of like recon, or he doesn't know like the meta opening. Okay, so we boost our first infantry, so like now this city can get captured. This infantry goes across the mountains to like help out on this side, because like again this base is so delayed, like it's turn 5, it's just now getting finished to capture. So this area like really needs a lot of help with the captures, which is why we usually send this infantry over the mountain to like get this city and then this city and then maybe this city, right? My opponent does the same thing. And now I get like a recon on this side of the map. Kind of like slightly greedy, like it might have been better to save for a tank, but because there were no artillery, I was pretty sure it's either gonna be like an APC opening or a tank opening on the other side. It's probably not gonna be like an artillery open, so this is why like I felt pretty safe going recon into like a slightly delayed tank. Then here, like my opponent is like doing, a fairly conservative opening, I would say. This is, I think, maybe quite risky for him. So if you'll notice, like at this point of the game, he only has 2 infantry on this area right now. So like if his infantry overextends slightly and like my recon hit any one of them, this opening is already like trash, basically, because he has so few infantry, right? Like it's good. Like every infantry hit is gonna hurt a lot. Also, like there's not a whole lot of point building recon here anyway, because like even if you build recon here, like it's fairly easy to get a tank in time to like defend all of the captures. So like I said, like even with like his most aggressive recon timing, he's not gonna stop like the captures that I'm insured to get. He might be able to contest like some of these other ones, but three captures with the APC is already like worth it, and already like better than a tank first open. So first we load like this infantry, the backwards infantry, and then we unload into the mountain, so we have vision. So like this infantry is immediately in position to capture this city, right? And then we boost the other infantry and unload, so like now we have 2 infantry ready to capture these 2. So this is like the quite standard APC opening that I invented and like has become really popular on this map, because like again like it secures these 3 cities quite quickly. Recon is a bit of a deviation from like my normal opening. Usually like I might get tank first or artillery first, but this game we banned artillery, so like I couldn't go artillery. Recon is to make sure like if you do like a fast T-copter opening, then this recon counters that. So like this recon essentially ensures I will get this city fairly safely, and then I might be able to like have some counterplay here, depending on like what my opponent does. Also, it just gives me some more information to play around. The other thing is like because I'm fighting, it's an Andy mirror, right? So recon are actually quite good in Andy mirror, because tanks don't really kill the recon unless it's sitting on like a road or a shoal. The other thing is like recons help set up a 2-hit KO on infantry while preserving your infantry's HP, which is like really important because like reducing the enemy Andy's infantry count is like one of the easiest ways to win in this kind of mirror, especially like with no artillery.
Yeah.
And then here I do, a war crime. I do a base skip for a tank. Basically, I was thinking, okay, maybe my opponent actually does some like recon stuff. So maybe I want like a fast tank as prophylaxis against that to make sure like, he doesn't, because like I know some people like to pressure the tower here. They like to do like a weird mid attack here, and that would like hurt especially with my opening like APC into recon. A tank base skip allows me to like answer any kind of attacks there. If he tries to play any kind of aggressive thing on this right side, I'd also like have a tank to answer that. And a base skip at this point in time is not the worst thing in the world. Basically, this base has already produced all the infantry it wants to produce for the capture phase, so I'm going down like -1 unit count, yes. But it ensures like my opening is slightly smoother, so like I'm less prone to dying to like random things. Okay, and then my opponent goes for a T-copter here. I would say like this T-copter is already like quite late. But it's okay. But I think like he would have been better served maybe saving for like another tank. At this point, like the T-copter isn't likely to accelerate that much.
Well,
and then
it can
here,
accelerate like, the building in the corner, even if you got your recon there, it didn't know it.
Well, yeah, that's true. It can accelerate like this one, but the fact that my recon is here likely means he won't get it. So it's kind of like a gambit. The other thing is like if your opponent goes APC and then you go T-copter this late, like he should have gotten this like before tank, honestly, if he wanted to do this. By doing it this way, I think like my infantry actually get to this corner before his does, even like. But then because he went recon, like okay, it makes some sense. So it's not completely without thought, but it's just kind of like a little messy in my opinion. Like it's not very optimized. I do like see some of the ideas here, but I don't think like this T-copter ends up accomplishing much based on like what I remember. We go for like a mech here because I have an APC. I might as well, and like the APC gets here I think in time to like ferry the mech. So why not? Okay, so he gets his tank, he's like scouting out my tower. He gets another tank here. Okay, interesting. And then, okay, so this is a bit weird, right? Like, so he builds a T-copter here, but then he accelerates the infantry into this area. So it's kind of like weird, right? Like the T-copter isn't actually accelerating any captures, it's just like moving this mass of infantry forward. It's not really like the kind of thing you want to do in my opinion. Maybe like he wants to do an infantry attack, like an mass infantry attack on this side. That's potentially like one idea, but honestly you can do that even without the T-copter. You might as well just get another tank in my opinion, so I'm not really a fan of like how he's using this T-copter right now. Oh, but I guess like it's because he saw my recon. That might be the thing, because like he sees I have a recon here. This T-copter can't really go down here anymore. So yeah, I guess then that makes sense. Like this might be like his only play in that scenario. So you can see why like I didn't like the T-Copter a few turns ago, because even though he doesn't know like the recon is here, you know, fair enough. But the fact that that kind of opening could happen to him, and like he doesn't have like a very good answer to it, makes this opening quite suboptimal. Like if you see like, you know, my APC here, he went like a super aggressive recon. He didn't stop anything that I was planning to do. It's like my opening has gone very smoothly, and his has not gone smoothly at all.
Now, I got a question for you. Do you think it's overkill to have both a transport copter and an APC in this map?
It depends on the timing. So I would say like in the early game, yes, right? Like one transport in the early game is already quite greedy. Two is probably like pushing it. In the mid game to like late game, I think it's fine to have two transports here. So like anyway, like the APC becomes less valuable as the game progresses compared to like the T-Copter. Like the T-Copter is like a lot more mobile, and like the T-Copter can ferry infantry from this side to this side, so like it's a lot more versatile in that regard. It can also like cross a lot of terrain and get like certain areas faster than the APC can. Also like if you know you're running out of infantry, then T-Copter is like getting two transports, so like make sure you always have infantry at the front is quite good. So I think like it just depends on the timing, right? In the early game I wouldn't do it, but mid game it's a pretty strong play, especially like if you're winning.
I see. Good to know. I will stop making two transport.
Okay, so my opponent is like using his T-Copter to like mass inf here. It's fine, but you can already see like he's falling behind on income. Like at the end of his turn, he's 14k. I'm already at 15k. I'm capturing another 2 cities. I'm at 17k. So like his opening has gone really poorly. Fast battle copter is quite a gambit. But I can understand it because like maybe he's hoping I won't have an AA in place. Unfortunately for him, I built an immediate AA that turn as if I have map hack. The reason I go for like an AA here is because I will get like 18k the next turn. Like because like my income will line up, so I have 18k the next turn. That means I can get a copter tank inf build, which is pretty nice. I also know like a lot of people rush B copter here. If I'm not planning to play too aggressive like in this area, 2 tanks and a mech are more than enough to like defend my stuff. And like the only way he can really attack into this area is with a B copter or like a fast MD, both of which like an AA will help me counter, because like the AA can one hit KO on infantry, and then like tank and infantry can maybe like help blind the MD and make it so the MD becomes effectively useless. That's why I say like like this kind of setup is potentially a fast MD counter.
I'm supposing,
Okay.
or I guess you like to get that building at the end, right?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty happy like when I saw him move his recon away, because like I'm pretty sure then I just get this city for free.
Yeah.
So like these 3 cities here, and then like, you know, the counter here, these are basically like the cities that everyone fights over. So flipping this city and then like getting this city is like a pretty big advantage in my opinion, because these 2 cities in the corner are the hardest to flip, because like you park an infantry there, especially like in an Andy mirror, and you need like what, 3 infantry to get rid of it, or 2 infantry. It's just not like where you want your infantry to be, especially like if there's a lot of fighting in this area or this area. So like getting it early means like you hold it for a long time. I was actually surprised when I saw like my opponent has like 2 infantry here already, and because like I thought, okay, his infantry formation seems like there seems to be like a lot more infantry here than I thought he might have, especially considering like I see 3 here, like compared to like what I have here. So I was like wondering like what's going on here. Like did he just mass all his tanks in this area or something? And that's slightly what I was suspecting, because I realized like his infantry movement here is like quite underdeveloped in my opinion. So I was actually like quite curious this turn, like what was going on with my opponent. And that's the reason why I actually built a tank on this side instead of this side. Because I was thinking like, okay, with like how much infantry I'm seeing here, I feel like he hasn't built that many tanks here. So maybe I just, you know, fight in this area. Maybe his plan is like to HQ rush me or something. I don't really know. This is why like I build the way I do. And then he goes for a hit here, and he actually gets super lucky here. This was such a low chance of working. Like this was a 1 in 3 chance of working, and he managed to get the kill.
This is a really eye roll there.
Yeah, he got like a super lucky roll there. Otherwise, like this attack doesn't work, because like if this infantry survives, I just pull the 2 infantry out, then like swap it for like a tank, and then like a recon hits here, and then he loses 2 infantry to injure 2 of mine. And in an anti-mirror, that's kind of like horrible, right? So the fact that he managed to get this attack is the difference between like this attack working and this attack failing. So like this was super risky from him, but it worked out. The one thing about this though is like the fact that he committed this infantry this way means like this infantry will now get this city for sure. Like there's nothing he can do to stop it anymore. Because he cannot get vision over this city. So even if the tank can attack, it can't get vision, right? Like there's no unit that can get vision over it, which is why like I get this city now. And then he plays some, you know, plays pretty aggressively. I generally would not recommend fighting, like launching an attack on this front and then on this front. That's quite risky in my opinion. So I'm not really sure what his thought process here was. But you know, we immediately punish it. We kill the recon. Like very important, we kill the recon before moving the AA, so like he doesn't know I have an anti-air here. And then we're kind of just like playing a pretty safe formation here. We're not overextending too much. At this point in time, I don't really know how much stuff he has. So, you know, we're making sure our tanks cover each other. The mech is kind of exposed, but it's already like helped kill a recon. That's pretty good. And then we're just bringing all of our units together. On this side, I believe we begin a retreat because I don't really know how much stuff he has here. He has a lot more infantry, so I don't want to start trading. And then we just get another tank as backup, so like maybe we can start contesting this city. And yeah, we do something quite cheeky. We park the APC on the city so he can't get it. And just try to be annoying, like trying to soak up tank shots. Also, like if he hits this APC with like a tank or something, I have stuff to counter. The mech is even in place to counter. The APC also stops this infantry from attacking this mech, so like launching a 2-hit KO. So now he has to commit a vehicle to help kill this mech. You know, he goes for like some injuring attacks. He kills my infantry there. He goes for a copter hit, and then a tank hit. And then he's just trying to like stream infantry and tank. Like he's continuing to like fight in 2 areas. Like this is quite suspect in my opinion. And then he goes for like an MD here.
Why is it suspect?
Because okay, so basically in FAB, you can never win both fronts, right? Like you can never win both areas of the map, even if like you're slightly ahead. It's just not possible. That's not how the game works. So if you try to play on both sides, you will win one side and lose one side, for sure. Right? So like, your best case scenario in this is like you go even, right? Or like maybe you're slightly ahead if you somehow out-tactic your opponent. But you're not gonna win both sides, so like you're just giving your opponent free counterplay.
This is very good to know. Now maybe we need to refresh the replay right now.
Yeah. Connection interrupted. Okay, so from my point of view, like I see this copter, I'm pretty happy. Like that's a dead copter now, so that's the first thing we do. We kill the copter. Also, you know, gives us vision over the tank, and now we can kill the tank. So it's quite important that I attack with this tank first rather than this tank, because I know like on counter hit, like this tank will be at 8 HP. And then this tank will be full HP when it kills this. But I'm okay with this tank being 8 HP because I'm Andy. So I can wall with this infantry here, right, the moment this tank dies. And, you know, protect this weakened tank so like it doesn't die on like any counter attack. Because I don't know what he has at this point. So this is like, you know, an important tactical sequence that we do. And then, you know, we protect our mech because like it helped kill this infantry, so we put the recon here. We're just like making sure none of our stuff dies because again, it's an Andy mirror. The person who can keep most of their stuff alive, even if they're weakened, will win the game on the Super Seal power turn.
This is very interesting. Now, this is funny because in the chat, I think it's maidemao. I think maidemao is in the chat right now, and he says, "I got couple I roll this game." This is true, Stanley.
Yeah. The second one was maybe not a high roll in my opinion, because like, okay, he actually manages to get this kill. I believe, like, did he manage to get this kill? Hold on. I remember like, oh yeah, he managed to get this kill again. In hindsight, maybe this wasn't a high roll, because like my infantry did an attack, and even though it's at 10 HP, it definitely took some kind of chip damage. So maybe like this was actually guaranteed. I don't know the calculations exactly. But I remember like when I first saw this in this game, I was a bit mad because I was like, how does he get 2 high rolls in the same scenario? But looking at this now again, it wasn't actually 2 high rolls. I think the second one was probably a fairly probable thing that would have happened. I shouldn't have attacked with that infantry if I wanted to do this wall. This was probably a mistake by him, like not finishing off this tank. I think that's quite greedy, especially considering we almost have Super Seal powers up. Yes, like he blocks it off from retreat, but again, he has no recon here. He has no idea what I have, if I can break this or not. So like, in my opinion, not finishing off the tank for like an infantry is not a very good play from him. He gets a bit lucky, he kills the recon, he kills the mech, so it's a bit of a wall break, but the fact that he keeps fighting in this area is I think a mistake already. The MD has no way to like reinforce any of like these units immediately. He knows I already have 2 tanks in the area and an AA, so like he's already outmatched vehicle-wise, so this is quite dangerous for him to be doing. Like if I can clear this infant... Okay, so he blocks with the AA. Maybe this is okay then, because like a lot of like tactics for Andy rely so much on like, are you able to do a wall break or not, and like, does stuff die or not, right? So like in this kind of formation, maybe stuff doesn't die, and then this is fine. If stuff does die, then this is horrible. So it's quite like, you have to play like quite knife's edge stuff in order to like, get these attacks to work as Andy. And he starts capping my tower here. He's basically like playing very, very aggressive. I don't like any of these moves. This attack is maybe fine. These 2 is kind of just like throwing infantry away for free. Like there is no way he gets these.
Now I'd like to point out something. Just me seeing what's going on as someone that knows the outcome. I think it's very interesting because I do think Kanbei has a better army composition. But right now, his unit count, well, your unit count Kanbei is kind of shit right now. And this all goes back to you base skipping.
You dropped off there, Master Kanbei. What did you say?
So, do you hear me, La? No?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, this is coming from someone that has seen the game. Well, the outcome, I should say. I will say 2 things. Your army composition looks better on paper because you got battle copters, you got mechs. Well, your mech is actually gone, but you had a mech for a moment. And right now, I don't see any battle copter on my maidemao site. But
well, it died.
your unit count is bad. And I think this all goes back to the 1 infantry you decided to not have.
Well, not really, right? Like, my unit count seems bad, but it's actually like, quite even. The thing is, like, we're analyzing it from the start of my turn. and we're doing like a lot of trading right now. So like on turns where there's a lot of trading, unit count and like unit value will fluctuate super hard at the end of each player's turn because stuff is dying off. So what we'd actually have to do is like we'd want to look at like what my unit count versus his is when my turn finishes, and if I'm slightly ahead, then actually like we're just trading even, right? Like no one's actually like winning this. If I'm very ahead, which I would say is like about 10 units ahead, then I would say I'm slightly ahead. But like 6 units does not matter if you're both doing like heavy trading turns. So because like I have a lot of attacks this turn, I don't really think this is an indication that I'm behind on anything right now. So we kill stuff that we can kill, right? We disrupt this capture. I believe I calculated that this was for sure 6 HP damage, which is important because he has a trick here where he suicides some stuff for like SCOP and then captures this with a 10 HP infantry again. So the fact that this doesn't stay at 5 HP is quite important for this attack to work. And then we're just pulling back our units a little bit. We put our tank on the city so like he can't start capturing the city. That's quite important. And then we put another tank here, so you know, to heal up. Also like to prevent him, like it makes it harder for him to kill my stuff. This one is just basically a free attack. Like he's on the road, I'm on a city. It's always going to be a good trade, so we might as well just take it. And then I'm not sure if he pops his superpower this turn. No, he plays this actually like quite okay. He plays very patiently. He's massing all his vehicles here. And like he's using his infantry to bait me into an attack. This is actually like quite a good move for him. I would say like this is probably like the first good move I've seen from him this game. Because like the rest of it was either like okay to kind of like pretty suspect. This is a pretty good baiting move because it makes my army overextend into like his vehicles that are waiting to kill. And he's gonna get like superpower first for sure if I take this attack. I will get it second, but the player who gets the superpower first generally has a lot of initiative if they've traded pretty evenly. So me kind of like getting a bit overconfident, I just decide, okay, I'm just gonna kill this infantry. This is pretty good for me for sure. At the top side, I'm like trying to position a bit more aggressively. This is maybe like a slight mistake, I'd argue. Just like this is definitely a mistake. This may be not a mistake. The thing is, like at this point, I don't have a lot of vision. I don't know what he has, so I shouldn't have taken like an attack here if I didn't know what he had. I should just have played a bit more further back and started to group my army together. So this is definitely a mistake by me. What else do we do here? Yeah, we just start like mass our vehicles together. We're just waiting for his superpower. Like we know for sure he's gonna get it next turn, so like we're just waiting to see what happens. And then he launches a pretty devastating attack here. Like he kills, he kills the AA, he kills the tank, he kills 2 tanks actually with all his vehicles. And then he gets quite a few. Well, he doesn't kill any infantry, but he launches an OK attack here. Starts a capture. He's massing up infantry here
for him. Because now I feel like he is controlling a place you were controlling, and I think you trying to kill everyone or having like 2 armies, because this is what's going on right now. You got 2 armies. Gave him the lead basically.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and this is kind of why, like I said last turn, this was definitely a mistake by me. Like my army is not together, so I shouldn't be positioning this aggressively, and I don't know like what he has, right? So like I shouldn't be like playing like this essentially. So yeah, this was definitely a mistake. But even though it is a mistake, like I'm still ahead in unit value. Like if you notice, my unit value is still more than his at the end of and this is at the start of my turn. So this should never have happened if he was playing an okay game so far. So what this means to me, generally, even though like I didn't know this in the game, of course, but what this indication is like everything he's done prior to the last turn was basically not that good. and only his SCOP has helped him equalize slightly. But even then, he's not even ahead yet. He's just slightly equalizing right now. So this
He,
is kind of an indication to me of like the game is still fine
he
for
caught
me.
up the slack, as we say. Like, you had the lead, you lost that lead.
Yeah, yeah. So here, like the moment I realized, like all his armies is here. For sure, he has nothing here. We're just gonna kill all his infantry now, and we just go very aggressive on this side because basically, like he should not like the game doesn't work that he's allowed to have stuff here and win, right? Like that's not how the game works. Oh, I know for a fact that his army is here. This army can't really reach here in time anyway, so we might as well just go hard here and like just try to kill stuff. And then we just like start wiping out like random scattered infantry. We kill a bunch of stuff here. I would say this is a slight mistake maybe. Let's actually go back and look at the start of my turn. So what I should have done, if I was playing this correctly, I should have like launched all of my infantry attacks before using my superpower. So like at the end of my turn, like all of these weakened infantry would be full HP, right? And like it makes it far less likely that he's able to like wall break me. But anyway, that's a slight, slight sub optimization, I would say. Was there anything else I could have done better? Probably what I could have done better here is like instead of like the copter hitting from here, the copter should have attacked from this tile. So like maybe the tank attacks from here. It'll take some counter damage, but I'll heal up with SCOP. And then when we pop the super CO power, the copter has enough move to get to this tile. And if we combine, so like if we try to visualize that, if the copter is here and the tank is here, and then we did what I said earlier, where these infantry all heal up at the end of my superpower turn, right? Then these infantry will actually like form a wall, and this AA cannot kill my copter, right? There's all of these like small micro tactics which affect a lot of the game. Obviously, like I didn't play this perfectly, which is why like he's getting like counterplay. But so that's like how I would have optimized this attack further. But even with like suboptimal attacks, we're still I think pretty much ahead. Like we're starting to get like the unit value lead. We're starting to get like a slight unit count lead. He has like a 1k income advantage, but that's not going to last very long.
Now, I got a question for you. What do you think about that bomber?
The bomber is pretty good.
Okay.
I think this is like one of his best decisions in the game, for sure. So he is correctly realizing that in an anti-mirror, like we talked about earlier at the start, right? Heavy tanks are going to be really good because they're hard to kill. So the easiest way to kill a heavy tank is get a bomber. If you don't have artillery, you just have to get a bomber. Neo tank isn't better than a bomber, for killing medium tanks, because bombers can one-hit KO. Neo tanks can't do that. Like they trade pretty good, but if Andy is gonna use his superpower, that's not really gonna help you, right? So bomber is super good. I think this is probably like his strongest play in the game so far. The fact that he correctly realizes this before I did is very, very important for the game. Like this probably helped him the most win, rather than like any of this other stuff. Like all of this other stuff helped him equalize. This is actually like a winning play for me, in my opinion.
It's very good
so
to
he
know.
Goes for some...
I like that insight. I'm not the biggest fan of Bomber. I know how good they are, but I do think they are also very flawed, and they have huge weakness. Like most of its counterpart, well, all of the units that can basically kill him are cheaper, but it's still a very good unit at the end.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Like the reason why I say bomber is good here is because it's an Andy mirror specifically. Like no one has the firepower boost to really kill each other. Even like SCOPs, our medium tanks don't kill each other. You need like 2 of them, right? So like that's why I say like bomber is very good in this particular case. I generally would not recommend people go bomber if they just want like a heavy tank counter versus a generic CO. Like if I'm fighting Drake here, right, I wouldn't tell you to go bomber. Or like if I'm fighting Kindle here, I wouldn't say you go bomber. I'd say maybe just go Neo tank because it's safer. But because it's an Andy Mir specifically, bomber becomes really good. Because then it forces a fighter. The other thing is like, if I don't have a fighter out ready to meet this bomber, then I can't kill it. Like on certain SCOP turns, an AA does not counter a bomber. I have to use 2 of them, which is like really hard to get in position. Or I hit the bomber, then it heals up and it kills my AA, and then I'm screwed, right? So bombers can be very tricky to deal with if you're fighting Andy.
That's very good to know. Oh my microphone is doing weird stuff right now.
Alright, do you need me to pause?
No, that's fine. It's just weird.
Alright. So here he kills my infantry with the MD tank. Pretty much expected. Kills my copter with the AA. All of this is like pretty good, realizing like, you know, what attacks he has, what attacks he doesn't have. Again, like if I played the previous turn correctly, this doesn't happen at all, but you know, I obviously didn't, so he's getting some counterplay here. Playing pretty aggressively on this side. I think all his attacks here all his attacks in the bottom are pretty good this turn. In the top side though, I have a lot of issues with what he's doing.
You can basically storm
So-
the HQ when you realize there's nothing there.
Yeah. So he's committing all of his infantry to disrupt 2 captures, which, okay, first of all, he's not gonna stop these captures. Not with a tank and an AA. Like, 2 tanks and an AA are not gonna stop this army. Second of all, I know for a fact that he doesn't have enough stuff here. But, like, it's obvious to anyone who plays Fog at high level, this attack is no good. Because I will not be scared to, like, kill all of his infantry. What's he going to do to me, right? Like, if I kill all of his infantry, he's gonna attack me. With 2 tanks and an AA against like 3 tanks and an MD and a copter. He doesn't know if I have an AA here or not, so like this bomber is not safe yet. He just used his like we both just used our superpower turn. So this bomber is not safe yet, right? Like this bomber doesn't counter an AA yet, even if it gets first hit. He needs to have like at least 3 bars or 4 bars of charge before that becomes true. If he commits his bomber right now and my AA hits it from the fog, right? Then this bomber is useless for like 3-4 turns. That's not what he really wants to do. So this attack is really bad. He shouldn't have been holding onto this income at all. He should just be running his infantry away. And then here we just like start killing all of his infantry, like because like I said, like what's he going to do to me, right? Like, is he going to like commit his vehicles and just die? So like he doesn't really have, you know, a play here, right? Like the fact that he lost 5 infantry in this area, basically for free. Like he tried to stop this capture, it's not even gonna work. This capture is slightly delayed, but honestly it's like a 1-turn delay or a 2-turn delay. I'm still getting this in the end. So like he removed all his count in the top side for no real reason. Like this is such a bad attack in my opinion. The only good thing you could say about this is it's keeping all of my vehicles here rather than shifting down here. But it's like in this board state, it's not clear to me like he even has an HQ cap, right? Like it's not clear yet that he can actually do that. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like this is like a very big gambit play, I guess is the most correct way to put it. Like he's not sure if like the only reason he wants these vehicles to stay here killing his infantry is if he thinks an HQ cap is likely, right? From this position, I don't think HQ cap is likely yet because like his infantry are so far away. He has only 3 infantry and a mech. 2 of them are injured. He has no SCOP yet. He has a T-copter, but the T-copter isn't in position to ferry a new mech in. He has 3 tanks and an MD. He doesn't even have an AA. And then he has a bomber and an MD here, right? And on the top side, like he gave up like 5 infantry for that. That's not really good. The only way this is good is if he has an HQ cap in like the next 2 turns, and then this army doesn't arrive. In 3 turns, this army definitely arrives. This is why like I didn't like this attack for him. Here, I keep building like normal stuff. I build like a T-copter, and this is like I think the blunder for me, right? Like the fact that I still have not yet teched up to like a bomber or a fighter, or even like a rocket, to like defend my HQ here is I think a very big oversight. I should have realized at this point like yes, he doesn't have an HQ cap yet, but he probably will sooner or later. And I need to be preparing for that because like it seems like he's playing as if he wants to do an HQ trade. And realistically, that might be his only out at this point. He's lost so much infantry that it might actually be like his only way back into the game. Like he has how much infantry does he have? 10 infantry? Yeah, he's like 10 infantry. But you know, 5 of those are like really far back compared to like my infantry. Almost all of them are at the front. So even though like the infantry count looks still sort of even right now, like 10 to 13 plus a mech, right? He only actually has like 6 infantry at the front, and like almost all of my infantry are already at the front. This is why, like I say, he has a huge infantry disadvantage right now. He goes for some attacks. All these are pretty okay. And then I think at this point he is like realizing he needs to go for an HQ cap. I think like that's his play now. Yeah, like he's entirely given up on these cities. He just parks a tank on his HQ, like hoping for the best, right? Like for an HQ trade, and then he's moving all his stuff into the bottom area to like start a trade. So I think at this turn was probably like the key mistake. I should have realized at this point, like, oh, he's trying to like do an HQ cap for sure, right? Because of how aggressively he's positioning here, and how defensively he's positioning here. And I think this is the turn I lost the game because of like what I'm about to do. So this is the first mistake. I should have calculated to make sure I kill this medium tank. And actually, like, it's a low luck roll to get this kill in hindsight. So I should never have gone for this hit. I should just be preserving my units in preparing for like the eventual HQ push. Because like that's his only play at this point. If the game progresses, like if the HQs don't exist, for example, and this game progresses 10 turns forward, I just win. Like 100% I just win. Because he's lost too much infantry at the front. He's about to lose the income advantage very hard, and like he's not getting it back ever. I think he's down vehicles maybe. Yeah, he's like 5 tanks to 5. Okay, so he's about even on vehicles. So that's not too bad. But he's starting to like spam MDs at the front, and also like his army is just quite uncoordinated. So this is like a really bad strategic position for him. His only out at this point is an HQ rush.
So I got a question there. It's a mirror ending. Would you like to do some eye roll chance, taking a risk and shooting that medium tank with the recon, if this means a eye roll can kill it?
Yeah, I think I do end up doing that. Like I end up trying to like roll with the recon to kill the MD, and it fails. The thing is, like, the reason why I say this is a bad play from my end isn't because like the high roll failed. It's because like I'm now relying like, okay, if nothing happens on this front, I just win the game anyway. So why am I gambling on like killing this and like winning harder when all I have to do to win is do nothing, right? That's kind of like why I say this is a bad play. Because I just have to like stop the HQ rush, right? Like the moment I break this HQ rush on my side, I win the game. Like he has no counterplay anymore. Because he's about to lose. The income is about to go like 23 versus like 18 or 19, something like that. Which means I will just have like more heavy tanks than him in the future, right? And it's very hard for him to push on this side because he has 1 tank and 3 infantry. And like an MD coming. Maybe 4 if this infantry ever arrives on the front. But like that's not an army that can actually like take cities. Right? Not against like I put a tank and a recon here and then start ferrying more infantry, and like this entire side he doesn't get any more income. So I just have to stop this attack from working on my HQ and I win. So why do I have to gamble killing the MD tank, right? And like potentially risking some kind of counter attack when all I have to do is just sit back, you know, get a rocket or like get a fighter or get a bomber or get more stuff to fight with, right? And just sit in this area, make sure he can't kill my HQ, right? So that's why it's a bad play, right? Like I am throwing away like a 100% one game and making it like a 50-50. Like 50-50, I win a turn earlier, something like that. Or I could end up like throwing the game. That's why it's a bad play. And then at this point, this is like the second major blunder of this turn. And this is arguably like even worse than what I did here. I know already, like he might be trying to go for an HQ rush. Why am I committing vehicles here? Right? To secure this city? Doesn't really matter. Maybe just leave a copter here, right? And start shifting everything down here to like confront his army here, because this is where his army is. I just have to stop this and I win. This does not really matter anymore. Especially since I'm not really committing to like trading HQs with him. That was never really my plan. So why am I committing 3 vehicles on this side, right? So this is like a really big blunder. If I had like potentially a copter tank and an MD in this area, like, you know, a turn earlier instead of like 3 turns later. 3 turns because I have to use 1 turn to get back here, and then another turn to get back here, right? So this is like a 2-turn tempo delay for these vehicles. So like if these vehicles are already here, rather than here at this turn, this fight potentially changes completely, even with this one, right? Which is why this is like, I think, the biggest mistake in the game for me. And then like, you know, I realized enough, like at least I realized like, oh, I should probably like move my MD back south or something. But this is still like, in my opinion, a very big mistake. And yeah, now I'm starting to realize, oh, I definitely should be getting like something here to help defend. Maybe I just start spamming MDs now, or maybe I get like a rocket. I don't go for a copter anymore because like I see there's an AA. I can't really kill the AA, and I don't really need more copters anyway. And then here he kills like yet another copter, right? And then he kills the bomber, and then he kills the infantry, and then he kills like a bunch of stuff. So this turn is the turn I realized like, okay, I'm actually like in really big trouble here. But at this point, I think like his win was almost forced. I don't think I actually had counterplay anymore. Because like I can kill maybe the AA, but I don't have an answer to the bomber yet. On his SCOP, this mech or this infantry can both reach the HQ. I can't really stop it with a defense. Like, I'm pretty sure if he plays the next turn correctly, he even has like a forced HQ cap the turn after. He doesn't play it correctly, but it doesn't matter because like he ends up having enough units to wall for it the turn after. And then here is like he's just walling for my HQ. He's still expecting like we're gonna trade HQs. And like the moment I saw this, like again, like I should have known this like 3 turns ago. But the moment I saw this, like actually I think I already realized at this point this is gonna be an HQ rush. But I am still not, you know, fully trying to plan out how I'm gonna defend this exactly. And then I think I do something even sillier. I think I tried to kill his AA again. Yeah, okay, I go for like a bunch of infantry hits. So this one is probably pretty good. I'm making sure like he has less stuff that can cap my HQ with. That's pretty okay. Killing the AA is probably bad though. I know like he has SCOP, he has a bomber which I can't answer, he has enough tanks. Like for sure, and a mech, and like an MD. So like, all of these tanks are probably gonna die. And that's not really what I want. Like again, I have to make sure like I have enough stuff to disrupt his capture. Killing the infantry is fine. Like if I lose all this infantry for those infantry, it's fine. Because the moment all of these infantry die, the game's pretty much over for him. Because he can't do anything to me. But these tanks dying is pretty dangerous for me because he gets to kill the tanks. And I'm not like in position to counterplay against that immediately. And the more tanks I lose, the less tanks I have to like potentially break his wall here and try to do an HQ cap. This is why I say like this is very dangerous. I also have like SCOP this turn, but I decided like, okay, I don't really need it right now. I think this is potentially a mistake as well, getting a fighter. I think the correct play is actually getting a rocket here for me. Why I say a rocket is correct, on SCOP it has 6 moves. So it will be able to position on this tile exactly, this plane style. And from this plane style, it can actually like lock my HQ. And then I don't have to defend, I don't have to fight into this, right? I just have to defend here. And this HQ is safe. So as long as the rocket doesn't die. And you know, it's pretty close to my base, so I can reinforce pretty easily. So yeah, I think those were the 2 major mistakes for me. Getting the fighter to counter bomber immediately, probably not that good. Better might have been like rocket AA base skip, something like that. Do I have enough money for that? 15 plus 8 is 23. So yeah, I'd probably have enough money for rocket and then AA and then double base skip this. Like this doesn't matter. So like 2 AA will be able to kill the bomber, and then the rocket will protect my HQ. And then if these 3 tanks don't suicide like this turn, then this formation is potentially like pretty safe for me. And then he goes for the HQ cap, he goes for the SEOP, and at this point, like this is the turn I realized, okay, the game's actually over. I actually just threw the game because at this point, like there is nothing I can really do to stop him. I can maybe like try to high roll or something, but I think this is a visual bug. The bomber should not be there. It should be like I think here, like beneath this tank here.
It's a visual bug.
I'm gonna refresh. Okay. We'll move through his turn. Okay, so in this position, I realized I already lost. I played it out anyway because he might make a mistake, but essentially, like, there is no way for me to stop this HQ cap anymore, right? Like, so like if we rewind the turn before, and I did like what I thought I might have done potentially, like if I had a rocket here, and another AA, like then this bomber can get injured because like he used his SEOP for this, right? This bomber gets injured and then like it's not a threat anymore. If I have the tanks here to wall, the MD here is pretty much safe. Like he shouldn't be able to kill this. I can wall with like some tanks here. The rocket will hit this. I just need to delay it for 1 turn, which I do have with this infantry. And then like my stuff here are gonna reinforce in time. So like if I played the last turn correctly, potentially this is still holdable. But because I didn't play it correctly, then this is actually just already game over. Like you see, I don't even get to kill this tank because it's a luck roll. I get a pretty bad luck roll here, and yeah, can't really do anything at this point. Like he'll just clean this up. Another potential solution, although I don't think it will work, but another potential solution is if I attack the bomber from here with the AA, the MD can be here, and then I can park an infantry here. I'm not sure if it works, but if you look at his wall the next turn, if like there's actually like an infantry on this mountain or even just here, this potentially can still work. Although, no, maybe it doesn't work. But yeah, like you'll see, like I can actually like clear this bomber with the AA or the fighter. Then I can clear this tank with like an infantry. And then potentially like I could have used a copter if I had a copter alive, right? To like potentially like hit this. And maybe that's enough to disrupt the cap if I get a bit lucky. So you can see like how a lot of like the mistakes I did in like the past 5 turns really start to like hurt me on this turn in particular. Like if I had saved like 1 extra copter last turn by like either walling it correctly with the first attack here, not letting the AA kill it, or not going for like the MD hit, I potentially have a unit to disrupt this capture here this turn. If I don't suicide my MD blindly, right, I have another MD to like help wall break this, to like at least clear this. If I had a rocket, then potentially I can stop this capture this turn, right? If I had gone bomber way earlier, definitely I stop this attack, right? So there's a lot of like small mistakes I did with like in terms of builds, tactical engagements, that all culminated in this HQ cap being possible and making like what should have been a won game a lost game. So this is why I quite like Marengo. The fact that all of these things, like this comeback is possible, makes it so like the game is a lot more dynamic than if like HQs didn't exist on this map, right? Because even if you're behind on this game, like what maidemao was for most of the mid game, he was quite behind. The fact that he realizes his only out is the HQ cap and I didn't realize it in time, and then him playing to the correct out and me not responding to that gives him a chance to like get back in the game, right? So it's kind of a comeback for him, but I think that's quite good because it punishes players who are not understanding the strategic reality correctly, not responding to like the correct threats, and like kind of just like autopiloting through the game.
Thank you very much for these insights. It's very interesting. I think after having this replay with you, I will see Marengo on another way. I always like that map. It's a very fun map. But after watching this amazing replay, I will see it another way, and I think this was something else. This was very good. This was a very good replay. I kind of enjoyed the grid versus Indy we had with Mr. Cannon and Arcanist, but your replay here right now with maidemao was something very interesting to learn from. So, anything else to add, or any other takeaway you may have forgot to mention?
No, I think I pretty much covered all of it. Like, yeah, Andy Mirror, no artillery tech up is, the key takeaway in my opinion. Like, tech is really good tech is really good as Andy and against Andy. If there is no artillery, because like there's no cheap answer to anything.
So, thank you very much for coming. As usual, you are an amazing guest. You know the game very well. You have good tips. That's always fun to have you around. Thank you very much. And I hope the viewer enjoyed as well. So everyone, like, comment, and subscribe. We will see each other in future video. And I will announce the round 2 soon for the losers bracket. So see you next time, everyone. And Kanbei, take care, man. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, man. Take care.